Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here for Coug Connect. My name is Joanne Greene, and I am the Programming Director for University Recreation on the Pullman campus. And today I'm going to speak a little bit about some exercises that we can do to enhance our posture. It's going to be more of an active session than it is going to be a lecture. And so for this session, you'll want to have a comfortable spot to either sit or stand, if you can choose. Both will work for the postures that we're going to practice. I also have to give you all a warning that my cats have been relentless today. It's been like a pet parade in front of my computer. So I'm hoping they tried to negotiate with them before this started and offering cat treats afterwards if they stayed away. We'll see if my requests are answered or not. This is the best space for lighting in the house, so it's hard to get away from them. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we mean by enhancing posture. I think a lot of us have probably noticed that as we've moved our offices, many of us from our actual office in buildings on campus to our home, that maybe we don't have quite the same setup as we did in our buildings on campus. I know that in my office at the Student Rec Center, I have a really nice office chair that I can move the arms up and down and I can adjust where the back is. I have an ergonomic keyboard and my screen is set up at just the right height so that I'm not looking down or looking up at it. And some of us may have experienced this as well. I would really recommend that you go back and watch one of our previous Coug Connects on how to set up an ergonomic home office. Sarah Greer from an Environmental Health and Safety did a session several months ago, and it's really great. And so that's one of the ways to help enhance our posture, is to set up our workspace in a way that promotes that. And that your space would be set up so that we could sit up tall rather than having to lean forward or feel like we have to look down or look up. That said, at times if we get really pushed on time, we're trying to get something done quickly, or we just get tired of holding ourselves up tall, we tend to lean forward and round forward. And the effect of leaning forward and reaching forward, not just for typing, but also for driving and for texting, is that we tend to stay more rounded in the shoulders. We get used to being rounded forward. And what that results in is it makes it a little bit harder to sit up tall. But when we sit up tall, so let's just try this, everybody, either standing or seated. Let's go ahead and either if we're seated, press down through your tailbone a little bit, your sit bones, so that you might, if you press down into your chair a bit, you might feel like you're getting taller. If you're standing, press down into the bottoms of your feet, like there's 4 corners on the bottom, and just lightly press down into the bottoms of your feet. If we're standing, pretend that we've tucked a marble under the arch of each foot so that we start to lift the arches of our feet slightly, and notice the impact that that has. I teach yoga as well, and it's one of my favorite things to teach is how our connection to the earth or to a chair really impacts how the rest of our body reacts. So when we press down into our base, be it our sit bones or be it our feet, we start to lift up and grow taller. So the next thing we'd like to do is imagine that we are lifting through the roof of our mouth and then lifting through the top of our head, like there's a string coming out through the top. So as soon as we start to do this, we notice we have a little bit of work here. So this is why it's hard to hold this during the day. But as much as we can, we would like to be more upright. Next up, let's do a few shoulder rolls. So let's roll our shoulders back. So we bring the shoulders forward and up. You can take a big breath when you do this. Bring the shoulders backwards and down as you breathe out. Doesn't really matter where you inhale or where you exhale. What really matters is that you take deep breaths. Breathing more deeply makes us feel better, helps to relieve stress and tension. Do a couple more at your pace. If you'd like to roll some forward, you can too. So give a little stretch for the upper back. Now the benefits of using this more upright, more active posture are that we feel more confident when we are using what we would call good posture. Also, it's easier to take big breaths if we're doing that. So let's do a couple rolls back now. Now in this one, let's bring our shoulders back and down. Notice where your shoulder blades are. And you want to imagine that you're taking the bottoms of your shoulder blades and kind of tucking them into your back pockets. Not so much that you lean backwards, but just so that we set them down and back. Chest is lifted a little bit, but not so much that we're really raised up. We'd like to feel tall. We'd like to feel like shoulders sort of settle in, down and back. And let's take a few deep breaths here and notice what it feels like to breathe deeply when we have our open posture. I have not verified the accuracy of this fact or not, but I was listening to a radio show when I was driving home the other day, and the speaker said that there's research that shows that if you're having trouble remembering something, sitting up tall for a minute will help you remember that thing. So it could also help us in our work in terms of productivity. As well, if you're speaking to somebody, I was just joining in on the Jan Hargrave presentation. She talked about how you sit projects your attitude about a conversation to other people. So when we sit up tall and we're open, it shows that we are interested in speaking to the other person or people, but it also projects confidence. So in order to hold this position, because this is a tough position to hold, it's really good to give ourselves postural breaks every once in a while. So in between meetings, giving yourself a postural break would be great. Either walk around or roll around, get a chance to sort of shake things out a little bit. But then what we also can do, besides those shoulder rolls that we just practiced, are some chest expansions and then some rounding forward. So we're going to start first with what's called the cat-cow. And you can do this either standing or seated or even hands and knees in what we call tabletop. But with this one, I'm going to adjust my camera. We just lean forward. I'm going to turn to the side so y'all can see me. We lean forward and then we just round our backs up. It's like a cat arches his back when he's startled. And then we lift our tailbone, our belly button, our chest, and our chin. This is what we call cow posture. If you've practiced yoga, you've done these postures before. They're fantastic. Just to warm up the spine, give you a little stretch. And this is a gentle range of motion. A few cat-cows. Increase the depth of your breath. Big inhale in, big exhale out. Again, doesn't matter when you do each, as long as you're breathing. Notice how this feels in your back. We do this while standing. A little bend in our knees gives us a bigger range of motion. And then in hands and knees, that's when you really can move through a pretty big range of motion. And let's do one more of each. And after we've had a chance to warm up our backs a little bit, then we can do some chest expansion. And so we're just going to take our arms open here. So we'll take our arms out wide and squeeze our shoulder blades. Pretend you've got a tennis ball in between your shoulder blades. Give them a little squeeze. Shoulders away from our ears. This should feel good in shoulders, in chest, in our upper backs. We might feel a little bit of work. Those muscles are around the shoulder blades as we squeeze our imaginary tennis ball. And then we can reach forward. If clasping your hands feels good, clasp your hands, turn the palms out, and then round forward, a little bit like that cat pose. Hold this for a few breaths, shoulders away from our ears. My shoulders always move right up to my ears for this one. I have to think about bringing them down. And then let's open up again. And then we can round forward. A few more times, so we open up. We can lift our chest here with this one. So you might feel the ribs lift a little bit when we open up our chest expansion. You can bend your elbows. You can straighten your arms for this. You really want to pay attention to shoulders. And hands can be at shoulder height or even lower. A few more times here. Now, let's bring it back into that chest expansion. We probably need this one a little bit more than the reaching forward because we tend to sit rounded forward. And this helps to stretch the chest, but also strengthens our upper back, those muscles that bring the shoulders back and down and hold us here when we want to stay here while we work. A couple big breaths here. You might notice chest will rise when you breathe in, and ribs and chest will lower when we breathe out. A couple more times. And last time. And let's release. Let's take one arm across the chest. So it's nice to get a little shoulder stretch in. We get a little, we get tight in the upper back and the shoulders and maybe into our neck when we have to sit at our computers for a lot of time. So just reach one arm across, the elbow can be bent or arm can be straight. We just want a gentle stretch. And you like to hold your stretches for at least 20 seconds to 2 minutes actually. And let's release. Shake out the arms, same thing other side. The nice thing is all these exercises that we are doing, if we're moving around our house, we can do these as we move around our house. So if we decide to move around in between meetings, we can do a few of these or all of these while we have time in between meetings or appointments. And let's release. So another couple stretches that are really nice, again, can be done standing seated or even lying down as a child's pose. The child's pose traditionally is done from a kneeling posture and we sit back towards our heels. But if we're standing or we're seated, we can find a surface. I'm going to use the back of the other chair here. We can use another surface to hold on to, and then we just lean forward. So we get a nice stretch here. You can see I've got a chair back that I'm holding on to here, and I'm just leaning forward, pressing my tailbone back again a bit, shoulders away from my ears. Couple big breaths. If you're standing, you can move to the wall, lean forward a bit, and then just press the hips back. It should feel like a really nice, comfortable stretch. We don't want anything too strenuous as a stretch, so you shouldn't feel this really deeply. And let's release, so we'll come up. For our last stretch here, a forward fold is really great. Forward fold stretches the back of the body. We can do this in a few ways. We can extend our legs out in front of us and then lean forward. Should feel a bit of stretch in the backs of your legs. Sometimes I prop my legs up on the chair that's across the table and then I lean forward. Also, you were standing, you could bring your hands onto your legs and lean forward so you get the back of leg stretch. So let's take a few breaths in our forward fold. We want legs fairly straight and we just lean forward until we feel a stretch on the back of them. And let's come on up. So other stretches that we could do is anything to stretch the front of the hips. So standing quad stretch would be good. We can also kick a leg back in our chair, sit up tall so we feel a bit of stretch in the hip crease there. If you are doing home workouts or going to the gym to work out, it's really important to think about strengthening both front and back of our bodies. We tend to remember to strengthen the front because that's what we see, but strengthening the back is also really important so we have muscular balance. So that way our muscles that bring the shoulders back and down are strong. The muscles that allow us to push things are also strong. So if you're doing push-ups at home, it would also be good to maybe grab some water bottles or cans of food or laundry detergent bottles and do some rows, lean forward and do some rows. Or if you have a band, you can pull backwards, or even without, create your own resistance, squeeze that tennis ball. So that way you have opposing muscles working and keeping your whole core strong so that you can sit up tall, shoulders down and back as you work. So that's what I have for today for you all. I just want to say thank you for being here this morning. Really appreciate having you all here. Join us again on Thursday at 10 a.m. for our next Cood Connect. Thanks, Don. And this is going to be about communication styles and how to appreciate others. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the day and we will see you soon.